Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome. So we are wanting to begin this beautiful conversation with an opportunity for all of us to sit down and to ground. It's been a crazy few days. And if you're watching the replay, you know, you're probably post New Year's Eve. We'll see when this comes out. But I would really love, Olivia and I both want a lot of the energy from this conversation tonight to be infused with the energy of sisterhood and collaboration and connection. So wherever you are, don't feel obligated to join me, but we're going to start with a little meditation. We can just close our eyes and breathe. If you're driving, do not participate, but definitely feel free to join in, and we'll just kind of ground our energy together. So I will lead, and as we go, let's see here. As you hop on, just make sure that you are muted, and we will continue on. So go ahead and find a tall spine and turn your palms face down. You can also lie down on your bed, whatever feels good for you, and just kind of shake out your shoulders a little bit. Notice if you're really holding tension in your neck, your jaw, your shoulders. Just give your circle. Take a few deep breaths. Then close your eyes and see if you can energetically soften the space around your heart and your belly. Let's take a deep breath in together. Fill up through your nose. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. And just settle at the base of your spine with the bottom of the exhale. And we'll take a deep breath in, go tall. Full mouth exhale, let it go. We'll do one last breath, deep inhale. And release. And go ahead and seal your lips together and start to breathe in and out through your nose. Just take a moment to release any feelings of tension in your belly, in your core, your back, and your shoulders. And as you enter the space of this conversation and this container, know that you are totally safe to be seen. You're safe to be here. And just do your best to release any external fears, worries, or thoughts that aren't really relevant to the next hour. And just tune into your breath here. Let yourself be totally present with your own breath and just with your presence here on this webinar. And we'll take one more deep inhale together. And let it go. And when you're ready, you can open up your eyes. And just whenever I do that, everything seems to be a little more clear, a little more spacious. So Olivia, why don't you start us off with just the introduction for this evening and what we have in store?
Perfect. Yes. Oh, I always feel so refreshed after that. I'm so good at that. You have like the perfect voice for it with like your twinkly lights and everything. I can feel it. Totally a vibe. So hi everyone. Hello. Welcome tonight. I am definitely like very ready to be here. Super excited to be here. I am feeling these Christmas, New Year's, holiday, winter solstice vibes. I know you guys are as well. We appreciate you guys being here just a couple days after the holiday and spending your evening with us. I've got my champagne, water, salt lamp. I'm here. I'm ready to go. So I'm Olivia Celine. This is my beautiful co-host, Aislinn Walton.
Hello.
And we are so excited to host this webinar all about letting go to level up with you. We want to have this really juicy taboo conversation that we feel like we wish, when both of us were walking through this very personally, we wish that more people were talking about it. So we're like, duh, what do you do in coaching? You create the things you wish existed. And so we just want to open up this conversation to be able to have it, because you will at some point walk through a relationship shifting and transitioning and changing and evolving in your coaching career. And if you're not a coach, maybe you're just an entrepreneur. That's beautiful as well. And you can use these same tools to shift and evolve in different relationships in your life as well. We're going to share some examples of maybe it's you breaking up with a client who you absolutely adore and things are feeling out of alignment. Maybe you have a coach, which is mine and Aislinn's story, where I was coaching with her and we worked together for 8 beautiful months and it was incredible. And I swore I was going to go to the grave working with her as my number one coach. And things started to feel off somewhere. We had to have some really difficult conversations, and We want to share that with you guys very transparently. And even I've done this with friends in my life. As I've evolved, as my vibration has risen, and as maybe theirs is shifting as well, you will naturally evolve out of relationships. And it's so difficult and scary and unknown, but that's why we want to have the conversation, to allow you to feel empowered and equipped and ready to handle whatever kind of difficult conversation, to have that open, honest, conscious communication so that you can continue to rise, you can continue to level up, and they can as well, because it really is going to be this thing which will teach you about what's for the highest good of you, for what is of the highest good of you is of the highest good of all. So we want to kind of open this up knowing that this is a transitioning season. If anyone else is feeling it, definitely post in the comments in the chat if you are feeling a lot of transition in your life in general. We're coming up at the end of the year. We're going into a new year, so we thought it was perfect timing with what can we celebrate from this year? What are we proud of? What are we grateful for? But also, what are we ready to release? What are we ready to let go of? Who are we needing to shift away from? And not in a malicious way, not in an evil way, but just in a way of, something is feeling off here and I need to open up the conversation. So it's an awkward thing to kind of give you guys a view into it, because coaching is a weird thing where nothing bad happens necessarily. It's not like anything wrong is going on. It's this beautiful, intricate relationship where all of our cords are intertwined and where all of our hearts are together and you are just like obsessed with each other and you're like, this is such a soul aligned relationship. And then something starts to shift and you don't know how to walk through it. And it might be, which we kind of talked about in the marketing up until launching this, where it's almost, you might need to have a conversation to shift some things together and continue moving forward together. Or maybe you need to part ways and you need to be able to have that conversation. But little asterisk warning, this is not saying we just walk around and we're like, I'm done with this relationship, I'm done with this one, and breaking this commitment, and I'm walking away from this, and we're just like willy-nilly, uncommittingly, making up a word, walking through life. We're honoring things, but we're honoring ourselves, and we're having the conversation knowing when it's time to shift, when it's time to feel it out, and when it's truly time to say, I love you, but I have to do this for me, and we'll walk you through that tonight. So if you guys are feeling this as well in any area of your life, it's so important to address this energy leak, because I promise you, as Aislinn taught me over and over and over again, when I tried to ignore it many times throughout my last year of life, it just continues to transcend and leak into other areas of your life. And it might be the very thing that's keeping you from that next level of abundance, that's keeping you stuck from bringing in more of what you want, because energetically you're exhausted and you don't have space for it. So that's what we want to share with you guys tonight. So we have 4 different stages we're going to walk you through, and then we'll open it up for some coaching and Q&A at the end.
Absolutely. So Sierra says, so excited. I can't wait for all this knowledge to help me grow. Thank you so much for that comment, Sierra, because this is definitely the mindset that is going to assist you the most. Listen in. If you're a seasoned coach, this can help you in a way that maybe you wouldn't expect. If you were a newbie coach, then listen with all ears. But wherever you are in your stage of being a coach or in this career, or maybe you're just curious about this career, listen with new ears and see with new eyes, because we do have some different things that we haven't really seen addressed in other coaching circles or online and on social media, wherever these conversations are taking place or where they're not. So with all of that in mind, like Olivia said, we're going to take you guys through a few stages that we went through, and we were like, okay, so what's the best way to break this down for people? Because big announcement, kind of big, just vulnerable or transparent update is that we don't have everything figured out. We're not the masters of anything. We just want to share what we went through, because we know it'll help other people with what they're going through. Because if we didn't share it, I know that there would be people sitting alone, at their home office, wondering if they're weird, wondering if it's normal to feel this way, or if they should be doing something different. We want to normalize awkwardness in the way that, like, we're all human and we all experience these growth patterns that you might feel you're alone in experiencing, but you're not at all. So that's kind of the debrief here, but we're going to begin with stage 1. And Olivia and I are going to go back and forth in talking about this. And feel free, like if anything comes up that you want to ask about, or if you want to, remind us to talk about later, or if you have sort of like a revelation or anything that comes up that you want to share, feel free to open up the chat at the bottom of this window, and feel free to just share anything on your heart and on your mind, because if it's on your mind, it's probably on someone else's. And that's really important to kind of create and cultivate the connection that we have here. So just kind of an intro. I'm Aislinn Walton. I'm a success coach, business strategist, soul activator. Olivia is a sensuality and business coach, and we really love to help women along this career path. But it goes so much deeper than that. And what comes up around a lot of this work is healing feminine connections and relationships and sister wounds and all of that. So we're going to dive into more of that too as we go. But stage one is, did I manifest this? Did I manifest this? And we want to talk about like the mentality of, is this for me or is this happening to me? And why is it going to be of value to you to really look at a situation that is much more empowering as opposed to victimizing? Because we're all going to have shit go down. You know what? That's just the truth. Right, Olivia? It's like you can't deny, you can't evade things going wrong, quotation mark, because things are always going to be happening in a way that's going to assist our growth. And if things were just streamlined and clear and dandy all the time, we wouldn't necessarily be facing the demons, the shadows, the parts of ourselves that need to be healed. So whenever you have an opportunity in a relationship that is saying, hey, check me out, like let's look at this, let's move through this, let's heal something, it's definitely going to be of service to you to say, this is empowering me. I don't quite get it yet. That's okay. But I know this is for me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's the feeling of letting it be, like exactly like you said, Aislinn. It's an opportunity where it can feel really scary, really hard when you are the coach that's getting broken up with, or you're a client that's getting broken up with, or a friend that's getting broken up with. And you're like, what did I do wrong? Did I manifest this? Is this my fault? Is this a personal thing? What's wrong with me? And we go into this whole kind of headspace of, oh my God, life is against me. Everything's going to shit. Oh my gosh, like what am I going to do? Everything's over. And we start going in this spiral downward instead of taking the power back, reclaiming our power and saying, you know what, if this is happening for me, because I know that I'm always safe, I'm always protected, I'm always supported, then what can I make of this? What does this mean? And it could just simply mean that your time has come to an end and there's someone even more soul aligned on the other side. Or maybe it was time for you to break free so that you can go thrive on your own. And maybe there was codependency happening. I have no idea what it could be. There's a million and one different coaching client things that could be happening in these different difficult conversations that you might have to have. But it's really starting to take the power back and say, okay, I don't have anything to fear. This has happened to Aislinn. This has happened to Olivia. Okay, cool. It's happening to me. Okay. It's like almost like an initiation into the club. Like, okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Like shit might be happening right now, but that's cool. I can handle this. What can I make this mean for me? And what wounds do I need to heal, or what lessons do I need to learn, or what's underneath the surface? Now, if it's happening in every single relationship ever in your life, let's dig into that pattern a little bit more. And that's much deeper. Like let's do some work together, like we'll get to that. But it's almost, if it's just happening kind of here and there, could the universe, what if you just shift the mindset instead of everything's happening to me? What is the universe doing for me right now? Like, this is kind of cool. Okay. I'm open to it. I'm ready for it. And realizing that it's a new beginning and it's a next chapter and it's a next level and it's an evolution, which is the meaning of life. Like, we're evolving and changing every day. And what got you here won't get you there. So if you're wanting to hit new levels of income, or you're wanting to break free into something different, or you're wanting to step into a different area, not everyone that was back here can come with you. It just doesn't make sense. It really means that those people, you guys served your purpose. You've learned what you needed to learn from each other, and they're ready to move on to someone else, or you're ready to move on to someone else. And it can be a beautiful new beginning for all of us.
Yes. Okay, this is so good and juicy because, let's talk about vibration for a moment. We're all frequencies. We're all radiating and emitting and absorbing frequencies and vibrations all the time. And it's okay. Like, I want to normalize that your vibration shifts and changes and evolves. And at one point, you're going to be attracted to a coach or a friend or a partner. This is, how you do one thing is how you do everything, as our dear coach Melanie Ann Lear talks about all the time. But it's definitely, it's okay for things to shift, and it's actually something you should expect and hope for yourself. So it's not to be shamed, it's not to be feeling guilty about, it's not to be wondering like, what did I do wrong, which we'll talk about in stage 2. But notice that your opportunity to let go of something is actually a huge catapult. It's an opportunity for you to realize that your vibration is shifting, and it's shifting higher. And, vibration isn't really like low or high in terms of, earth to sky. It's much more about like the waves of it. So low meaning slow, and high meaning pretty fast and rapid. The slower the vibration, the earthier it is. The higher vibration, the more spirit it is, the more light waves, the more radio waves. So it's much more about you recognizing that the more you evolve, the more you do your own work, the more you shift and align and realign, you're going to be realigning with other souls who then connect to the future part or the future variation of what your vibration is. So it's okay that you're changing, and it's okay that you recognize that, oh yeah, it's time to let go of a certain person or situation or experience that was in alignment with me last year. And the right person will respect that. So we'll dive into more of that too. But this is the thing that, you want to empower yourself to be actually an expert at change and to not resist it, because the more you do resist that, the more you're going to set yourself up to expand time, which is going to expedite the process for you growing, for you manifesting, for you bringing in the income that you want, for you magnetizing the right ideal clients, you know what I mean? All of that stuff.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful ripple effect. I mean, I remember when you were going through shifts, naturally I'm going through shifts as your client. My clients are going through shifts. It's like this beautiful ripple effect. And if you stay so much up in your head about it and you refuse it and you resist the change, you're actually blocking the ripple effect of magic that's going to be going into your clients as well. And you're holding them back from growth by stunting your own growth. And it's like we're all constantly meant to be growing and evolving and shifting and changing. And your clients eventually, and this will happen if you don't continue to expand and grow yourself and continue to look at the hard parts of your life, or the conscious awareness, the things you need to really take a look at in yourself, and you continue investing in yourself and going to these next levels. Eventually your clients will meet you, and then they'll move on to someone else because you've stunted. You're here. You need to constantly be growing and growing and growing. And it's not just in like investments, but even the books you're reading, and how are you, growing yourself today? What podcasts are you listening to? Or how much meditation are you doing? Are you going out on walks? Are you expanding your own self, mind, body, soul, so that your clients can continue to expand and you're able to hold the space for them, and you don't stunt them and by saying like, oh, I'm not going to grow anymore, I'm just good here. And then they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go move on to someone else because like this doesn't feel good. It's a beautiful ripple effect. It's literally a partnering. We're all like tying together in this beautiful web of magic and expansion and quantum leaps and awesome things, which is so beautiful. But as the coach, it's your responsibility to take a look at the tough shit that you don't really want to, but as a leader, you have to. And then you give the empowerment and you give the reins to your client saying, all right, girl, I've done it. You're doing it. I've been through it. I can walk you through it, because that's what integrity is all about, is we have to go through it first so that we can walk them through it as well.
Absolutely. So like whether you're a coach or whether you're a client, you have to respect that, there's a way to consciously uncoach. There's a way to consciously like uncouple from either the coach or the client in whatever, relationship you're in. And by doing that in a compassionate way, and by taking the responsibility, like Olivia was just saying, you have to be radically honest with where you're not growing anymore. And obviously it's no one's fault that you've stopped growing or you've become stagnant, which is exactly why it's no one else's duty or responsibility to tell you, okay, it's time. It's always up to you. So at this point, you have to recognize that you as a client or you as a coach, whatever relationship you're in, is an opportunity when you're feeling that okay, where are we going right now? Am I stagnant? What's going on? It's an opportunity for you to recognize that you get to you get to be an example, and set the tone for elevating the awareness and the consciousness in all coaching relationships. Because like what Olivia was saying, we're a web. What you do doesn't just stay in your relationships. Like, you are such a light and such a power, like, not to be cliche, but you have an energetic vibrational ripple effect that doesn't just stay with you. It moves outwards. So the minute you take that responsibility and you say, okay, this is in my power to do something and shift and change, then you're also setting the tone for other people, to follow that leadership and that style of graceful exiting and shifting.
Beautifully said. Yes, yes, yes. So we're going to go into stage 2, right? We're ready to move into stage 2. All right. So stage 2 is going to be all about navigating the guilt and the fear and the confusion and the intuition. So this is really where we want to talk with you about, again, like we said at the beginning, this is not just about like, okay, this doesn't feel good anymore. Boom. This doesn't feel good anymore. Boom. This doesn't feel good anymore. Boom. Like, if only life was that easy, dear sweet baby Jesus, we would all be exactly where we want to be, doing exactly what we're meant to do, making all the money we want to make. But it's not that simple. It's not that easy. This is the tough shit that you're going to have to ask yourself, taking that radical responsibility and ownership and saying, okay, something feels off. What does this mean? And doing the internal work. So really, okay, so for example, when I go through this, and anytime and anywhere in my life, when I went through this, when I was thinking about, is this Aislinn? Is this me? What's going on? Like, I was going through all of this web of emotions because I was like, I adore her. I love her. Like, I can't imagine my life not with her. I literally told her I'm going to the grave working with you. Like, I was so all in every single way possible. And I have clients where I was like, oh my God, we're going to be working together forever. It's going to be like a forever thing, and we're going to be tied together forever, and it's going to be so amazing. And it was like, okay. And I mean, even back in October, I hit my first 17K month. I had everything was sold out. Everything was good. And then all of a sudden something inside of me was like, something is out of alignment. Something is off. And I was like, God, I thought I finally made it. And then I realized, oh, growth opportunity. This is happening for me. What does this mean? So when you start having these feelings, it's really important to give yourself a lot of space to start to figure out, what does this mean for me? Now, it's not over analyzing it, but it's giving yourself the space and the grace, not judging the feelings that are coming through, doing it with eyes of love, and literally just being so quiet with yourself and asking, what's going on here? Right? Pen to paper, maybe you're journaling about it. Maybe you're more of someone who wants to do it in meditation. Maybe you take a bath. Maybe you have sex and you're really involved in that, and that allows you to clear your mind, or whatever it might be for you. Really allowing yourself the space to ask yourself, what's actually going on? If I didn't have to answer to anybody, if I was allowed to be fully honest and know that I am loved and accepted, and nothing is a wrong answer, nothing is a bad feeling, nothing is going to get me an F on this paper, and I just get to be really honest with myself, what do I actually feel? What's actually going on here? Because what might happen is, if a vibe is off, a lot of times it just means it's time to have a conversation with the person. It's not necessarily like, okay, I'm done, because that's not fair, right? They might not even feel it. They might feel it. You guys need to have that open, honest conversation. But sometimes it's like, oh, start going into fear, and we start going into like, okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to make my payment this month, or, oh my God, well, I don't know about this. And like, I don't know, I'm not getting the results that I wanted yet. Maybe this person's not for me. And we start to go through all of these things. That's you being like, oh, I need to have an open, honest conversation. This is a growing moment for me. This is actually something I can learn from. This is something I can bring to my coach. Or, in both ways. If I'm feeling that with a client, I'm going to go to my coach and talk to my coach about it after I've navigated it myself. But if it's me going to Aislinn about it, I was like, okay, I can open up and have a conversation about this. And that's what we did the first time. We're like, let's have a conversation. Something feels off. I cried my fucking face off. Like, I cried so hard for so long, and I couldn't even like get words out. And she just held space. She was just there, and she wasn't judging me for it, but she was giving me space to navigate what I was feeling, and we were putting the pieces together. So this is the part where you start navigating these feelings and taking ownership of them and being like, okay, what's coming up here, and then starting to see you have a million different options of what can be the solution here. But it's just this first part is just like the pre-letting go. The is it time to let go, or is it just time to stick it out and it's time to have a conversation and move and shift through this together?
Absolutely. It's really important to acknowledge that it's hard to make a decision when you're in an emotional reactive space. So a lot of us, we're women, we have emotional ups and downs, we have rhythms and cycles, and we flow, right? We are not linear and we are not static. And that's something to really honor and respect about ourselves. And it also shows up in relationships. So it's especially, when Olivia came to me first and she was like, whoa, feeling off. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm emotional. A lot of excuses started to come up first. Like, well, you didn't sleep last night. Like, well, my dogs kept me up. Well, these things that we're like trying to reason with, and we attach and we're like, okay, this is the reason I feel off, because we're trying to logically validate an emotion, which is impossible to do. It's like, it doesn't really click that way. Sometimes you have to let it be felt and then like let it pass, go on a walk and make a decision from an abundant place and in a clear place, and not from an emotional reactive or scarcity based place. So this is exactly like what I want to highlight back to when Olivia was talking kind of towards the beginning, where there's a lot of lessons available when you do stick it out and when you do commit to moving through a tough spot, especially when you know that you have a pattern of not willing to be seen in a vulnerable space. So that's going to come up when you're in a coaching client relationship, whether you're a coach or a client, right? So it's really important that you can be emotionally intelligent in the way that you communicate, show up, and present yourself, not from like, I'm done, I'm bailing, this is hard. It's not about that. It's much more about showing up like, okay, so here's a list of how I'm feeling. Like here's my intention. My intention is that I want us to both feel clearly represented and presented and communicative with each other, so that there's nothing that we're blaming on the other one, or it's your fault that your energy's off, it's my fault the energy's off. It's not ever a blame game. So it's up to you to really clear your emotional capacity in real estate before you show up, before you're willing to have that conversation. Of course you might cry, of course it's going to be hard and emotionally reactive. You can't turn that part of you off, but you do have to empower the part of you that responds instead of reacts. So the difference in both of those things is that responding has a lot more consciousness and compassion infused with it, versus reactive, which is a lot more ego-based. So when you're reacting from a place of ego, very little good can come from that kind of place. If you're responding with respect and intention and mindfulness, a lot more good can come from that kind of decision. Because every decision, once again, coming back to vibrational alignment, every decision is also going to have kind of a reaction in response to that, right? So you have to make sure that your response and your decision is energetically aligned with good and high vibe intentions, and not like freak out vibes.
Freak out vibes. Oh my God, it's so true. So another thing that kind of happens in this second stage of confronting and navigating all of these feelings within yourself first, before we even go out into like having the difficult conversation, is all the what ifs that start to spin up in that head of yours, that pretty head and mind, the beautiful space where like, so much beautifulness goes on in your mind, and your mind is needed, but your mind is not where we are meant to make decisions, because your mind, like Aislinn so beautifully said, it's going to try to go into the analytics and the logics of it. And it's going to be like, well, this needs to mean this, and this might just mean this. And it goes very, very masculine energy, right? Which masculine energy plays a role. It's beautiful, but we want you to kind of drop into the feminine here of like, what am I actually feeling? And knowing that you're allowed to feel whatever the heck you're feeling, and you're going to be safe and you're going to be supported in that. So what ifs, right? All the what ifs start going on. What if I let go? And what if this person, like maybe you're letting go of a client, what are they going to do? What if they're alone? Oh my God, they're going to think I abandoned them. Oh my God, they're going to think this, they're going to think this. What if this, what if this, what if this? And we start going down this whole rabbit hole. I've been there. Okay. Speaking from experience. Really? Or maybe it's like letting go of a coach and it's like, okay, what if she hates me? I thought Aislinn was going to hate me. I thought she was going to block me. I thought she was like going to write me off forever and like wish the worst for me and think I'm such a loser, whatever. And it's my mind being like, I'm going to think this and this is going to happen and this, all these crazy things start happening. And instead what you have to ask is like, okay, cool, awesome. I can handle anything that I'm given. I know that I have a divine guidance. I know that I have inner wisdom of like, okay, I'm safe here. I'm supported here. I can feel these things. I can navigate them. Oh, remember what we said at the beginning? Aislinn's been through it. Olivia's been through it. I can get through it. Cool. We have given you this beautiful, like, silver platter of like, we get you. We've got you in this. Like, you're going to make it through. Yes, it's going to suck a little bit. It might sting a little bit. There might be some not so fun responses on the other end, but your perception is the only thing you can control. The other person, their perception is going to be whatever the hell they want it to be, and you can't control that. So again, asking yourself, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm feeling? What is feeling off? Am I going into fear? Am I going into doubt? Do I need to just have a conversation and have my coach me through this and hold space for me as I navigate this like scary sticking point of like, oh my God, like I don't know how I'm gonna make money. Oh my God, nothing's working. Oh my God, nothing's happening. Okay, I'm gonna bail, and we go back to an old pattern. Or am I going to, say like, I love you, but I want to have this conversation and I want to see if we can figure out a way to work through this together. And if you can't, then you're ready to let it go and you know that you're going to be safe on the other side. Kind of one of the biggest what ifs for me that I learned this year is the idea of when I was scared to let a client go. And I've had to do it a few different times this year over the last year. And it's been insane and it's been crazy and it's been some of the hardest, most difficult conversations because I have a very open heart. If anyone knows human design, I'm very open, wide open, no activations in it. Wide open, I feel all the things for all the people forever and ever. So when someone is hurting, I feel it on like a deep, energetic soul level, and it's just how I'm wired, and I have to remember that that's not mine. Belle says, woo woo, human design, yay! So good. So something I learned was that I was feeling this like out of alignment and I was afraid to let go because I thought that they would fail. And I was like, well, what are they going to do without me? And it became, I realized, oh my God, how disempowering is that I'm afraid to let them go when that might be the very thing they need to thrive. And me holding on for selfish reasons like, well, I love this person and they make me feel good. And it's easy. We have really easy, effortless conversations every week. So why would I let that go? And it's a guaranteed paycheck and we're in a contract. So why would I let this person go? Like all of the reasons are pointing to you love this person, stick with them, but something was feeling off. And I wouldn't allow myself to feel it because I was so focused on, well, what are they going to do? When what I have found is that they actually thrive on the other side, because if I'm feeling energetically off, they're feeling energetically off, and that's not doing anything for the rise of humanity. It's not doing anything for the greater good because we're all stuck and blocked and energetically exhausted and no one's willing to say anything. So I realized that I wanted my clients to want to work with me, not need to work with me, and that I needed to stop filling my cup with their words of affirmation. I had to fill my own cup with my own words of affirmation, knowing I have nothing to prove, knowing that I am a damn good coach, knowing that people freaking get results when they show up and when they work with me, and just being in my energy, they're getting exactly what they need, and knowing that people want to be a part of that, and it's not always that they need to be a part of it, like feeding like a baby bird, where in the beginning of my coaching journey, that felt really good because it fed my ego and it was like, ooh, these people need me. This is so fun. Okay, cool. Answer this, question this, cool. And it felt really good, but it wasn't serving anyone, because the point of coaching is to create self-sufficient, self-empowered humans and women that can go out there and do the damn thing, and they choose to work with you because they want to, and because they crave the guidance, they crave your knowledge, they crave plugging into your energy outlet, they want to be a part of your world. It's more fun co-creating, it's magical, and it's this epic experience, but they're going to figure it out on their own even if they didn't have you. It's just, how easy do you want it to be, you know?
Yes. How easy do you want it to be? Exactly. Like as a coach, you have a really massive responsibility to hold the space for the client to show up And that's why, like, you have got to do the manifestation work. You've got to do the abundance work so that you're integrating it. You can't just preach it, because when a situation like this comes up, then you're going to recognize, like, if you're in a state of abundance as a coach, you're going to respect and hold space for a client to say it's time for me to go, as opposed to being like, are you sure? Let's work through this. Well, like, yes, as a coach, you should ask the right questions. Make sure your client is making that decision from an abundant and free place. But if you're in scarcity as a coach and you have an opportunity like this kind of situation with a client, you cannot healthily assist this client in consciously uncoupling if you're not integrated in your own trust of where the universe is taking you. So this is definitely about, enabling, recognizing if you are enabling your client, recognizing if you're enabling your own victim spaces, your own victim mentalities, your own abandonment issues, which we all know in this world, like, they're going to play out at any opportunity that they can play out in, because this is such a healing opportunity, a healing experience, a healing journey. And when it's real time, right? Oop, I think I might have.
You're back. I'm back.
Sorry. Like, what I was saying is that healing doesn't necessarily just happen when you're in a safe little space doing your journaling at home. Healing oftentimes happens when it's real time, when it's like in your face, and when you want to freak out and when you want to bail. So this, like, every single moment where you can be so empowered in your trust, in your power, in your confidence as a coach and as a client, the more you're going to assist, like, what that person is actually going to need from you. And that typically means you do get to hold a very maternal space for that woman or client to do her thing, react, respond, decide for herself, and then you respond and you mirror her higher self always, never her victim self.
Ooh, I like the way you said that. That's so true. So true. So in these times when you're going through the second stage, which I know we've been in the second stage for a minute, I'm like, we can
it's a long one.
We have so much to say. Which, you guys, I'm loving the chat. So definitely keep sharing in the chat, and we'll make sure to go back to at the end and answer the questions in there as well. But it is this idea of asking. As the coach, it's so important, because it is important to always, you're taking care of humans. Like, you are holding space for these wonderful, incredible clients, and it's such a beautiful experience. But it also is so important to ask yourself, what do I need to do to honor myself at the same time? If something's feeling off, and maybe you've had multiple conversations, or maybe it's just the decision's been made in your soul, you know that this is what's best, you know that this is the next step, and you need to have this difficult conversation, knowing that at the end of the day, you need to honor yourself as well. And you can navigate this with such compassion and grace and ease and love in your heart. Like, when I break up with a client, I cry for like the rest of the night a lot of the time, because you feel on such a deep level. And it is this really weird breakup where, again, it's not like anyone cheated on anyone or anything bad happened, so I can like wish that they would burn in hell or anything crazy like that, right? Which, not healthy to do ever in any relationship. But that being said, it's just this weird thing of like, well, now what, right? And we're going to get to that in the fourth stage. But know that it's important to ask yourself, go inside, ask yourself, like, is it time, or am I wanting to work through this? What is it that I need to do to honor myself? And realizing that you don't know what these clients, here's an example. Sometimes you let go of a client and you're kind of bummed because you're like, damn, we could have gotten, like, I really wanted to get them here. Like, I saw it. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen for them. It's still going to happen for them. You're not like stunting their growth by letting them go. They're going to go and they're going to soar, and they're going to work with someone else, or they're going to do some things on their own for a while. You don't know what lessons your clients came to you to learn. Right? I've had clients come to me for things where I'm like, oh, I didn't think we were going there, but that's cool. Okay, awesome. Look at all these celebrations and these wins that we've had. But I didn't know, and Aislinn didn't know when I started working with her exactly what lessons I was going to walk away with. But when our souls were ready to call apart and so much to say on that, but we're going to do that in the fourth stage. I'm going to stay on track. But with that, when our souls were feeling called apart, I had to know that I got the lessons and I learned exactly what I was meant to learn in that soul contract. And there's something next for me. There's something moving forward. And it's not my responsibility to make sure my clients get every single freaking piece ever and like giving them all these things before they go, like, okay, I just have to make sure, but they didn't learn this yet. They'll still learn it. It's not up to you to like micromanage their lessons. Their soul already knows. It's already happening on like an energetic level without them even trying. They're walking through this life and they're navigating and they're learning the lessons, and it's not up to you to decide what lessons those are.
Yes. Like we have to respect ephemerality. Like you have to respect that timelines are one day going to be up. It's not always about hanging on until the last moment. In fact, letting go when things are good is a beautiful practice, and it doesn't have to mean that disaster is reason for separation. It can actually mean, hey, I'm so self-empowered and so self-aware that I feel complete. Like a big practice here, you guys, it's actually like a tangible takeaway from this conversation. If you haven't developed a practice like this yet, is to close your eyes, put your hand on your heart and your hand on your lower belly, breathe for a good few minutes, really find a rhythm in your breath, and start to ask yourself yes or no questions that are like obvious. Like, is my hair blonde? Yes. Did I eat a smoothie for breakfast? Yes. So start to answer yes and no questions so that your intuition is very much like ding, 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 ding. Yes, I know that. Yes, I know that. And then start to ask yourself questions like, do I feel complete in this relationship? Yes. Do I feel it's time to let go of this relationship? Yes. Start to ask yourself yes and no questions to grow and nurture your intuition from your belly and your womb space so that over time you can continue to hone that practice. It's not going to be like perfect right away. So make sure that you ask yes and no questions that are very obvious to train your belly and your body and your intuition. Yeah. But, that's definitely a big practice that's helped me where I can immediately, I can know what's for me and what's not for me. And I can know when I'm complete or incomplete. And I can know if I'm emotionally reacting, which is usually like, bail, freak out, versus do I feel complete? Yeah. Not yet. So let me stick it out a little bit farther.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you go again, something that we talked a lot about in our time together was like, if you go into that gut instinct of that's the fight or flight, right? That's the like, oh, money is tight this month, I should go. I really have to go. And you like fly away because you're like, okay, no, I just don't want to do this. And you bail. Very different feeling than asking yourself and putting your hand on your womb and putting your hand on your heart and just asking like, am I complete? And knowing. And it's almost like you like breathe into it versus like contract, like, oh my God, like I'm really freaked out and I'm really scared. And like, I don't know how I'm going to pay ASIL this month, but like, oh my God, I'm just going to be done. And I've had clients do that to me before. And I recognize, okay, you're in scarcity. And I always ask in that moment where I'm noticing this in a client, and I'll say, can I coach you through this? And if they say yes, I coach them through, we get to the other side. And if they say no, I say, okay, then I bless and release and I let you go. And I honor that because obviously like our lessons have been learned. There's more clients out there for me. There's better coaches out there for her, whatever that might look like. And I trust the process and I lean into it. So really kind of knowing, like, do you feel that like, yes, like I'm just done? Or is it more of like, oh, I'm done. Oh, this is weird and scary.
And as a coach, you have to trust your client in her decision to experience that. You have to respect her. You have to respect her decision. You have to invite, that conversation to happen. Not just, don't go straight into coaching her. Just like Olivia said, may I coach you through this? Give her the invitation to approach and to accept. And that way, you can really listen to what her intuition is saying or what her fear is saying. And as the coach, going back to talking and mirroring to her higher self, that's definitely a skill that you can learn over time. And especially if you have a coach like Olivia and I, who, we want to hold that space for other coaches to make that normal, to make that a daily practice, to make that a normal practice. So exactly. I think like knowing when it's time and toning and honing your intuition as a coach and as a client is going to just help everybody in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go into stage 3. We're going to go into confrontation in the name of healing. Can I get an amen? That sounded so like, woo! All right. So what happens we went through stage 2, right? You navigated it. You confronted the feelings. You had that difficult conversation with yourself first. You really feel you have some more sense of knowing and meaning of, okay, this is what I'm ready to do. I'm ready to move forward. Now from here, you'll know, right? If I'm coming from fear or if I'm ready to actually like come from a place of knowing and intuition of like, this is my next best step. So recognize and go to your coach with that exact thing. And if you are having this with a client, I always recommend talking through it with like a business bestie or a coach or someone, whoever's your support team, not to tell you what to do, not to necessarily give advice, but to reflect back to you what's coming up for you and what they're noticing and what they're feeling for you, someone you really trust. Obviously keeping things so confidential between you and your client. But like when I would have certain things, I would go to Aislinn and I was like, okay, here's what I'm really struggling with. I'm having these feelings. Can you help me navigate this? And as a coach, she was like, oh my gosh, yes, like let's come up with a plan, and coached me through it, held space for me through it. And I felt supported. So I felt safe going into the actual conversation versus I'm having all these feelings and I'm really freaked out, but I have to do this thing and now I'm all alone. Lean into your support system here. Lean into knowing that you're safe and supported and you can trust what's coming up for you. So something that I did when I went into the conversation with Aislinn, when I had conversations with clients, is you have to make sure you're preparing your space, preparing your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, all of these beautiful pieces of you, getting yourself ready for it. So it wasn't like, okay, I'm in the car and I'm driving and I'm like super distracted and I'm having this conversation willy-nilly or half-assed. No, it was like, okay, what do I need to calm myself right now? Because I was a ball of nerves. I literally, this is so TMI, I had diarrhea for like 4 days before my second conversation with Aislinn. Like I was so sick to my stomach and physically ill because I hate confrontation. But the quicker as a coach and as a human, as a woman, the quicker that you can learn conscious communication and how to have difficult conversations, I promise you, things will get easier and you'll be able to be like, oh, boom, we're having this conversation. Oh, boom, we're having this conversation. You'll feel super confident in it. So for me, it was like, okay, what do I need to calm myself? Maybe it's getting a workout in that morning or doing some yoga or calling and talking to, your best friend or talking to your spouse that morning, doing some journaling work, sitting down and reading a book, listening to a podcast, whatever it might be that you need to prepare yourself for this conversation to bring you from being like super high strung and nervous and anxious about it into your heart of like, okay, I'm going to do this from love and with like the purest of intention. And she's going to hear my heart and it's going to be this beautiful, and you visualize this perfect outcome of like, it's so well received. I have nothing to fear. And I go into the conversation that way. Very different than if I'm like scattered. I had 18 donuts for breakfast. I'm running out the door. I haven't worked out in a week. So I'm like super anxious and high strung anyway, because I haven't released that energy or I haven't moved it through or whatever. I make sure that I'm preparing everything and that I was like ready to go into that conversation so clear and not just like, I really made sure to center myself before I went into the conversation.
Yes. So preparing your space, like it's going to be, external versus internal landscape. You don't want your external landscape to be reflecting chaos to you, indecision to you. Make sure you clean out your purse, you clear off your desk, you make your bed, you clean your bathroom, right? Do the things external to you that will then make you feel more at peace with your surroundings. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us can identify with the fact that healing and, this whole process can bring up a lot of OCD tendencies because we want to feel spacious and clear, not just in our brains, but in our physical space. So it's very important. And doing it from a place of like, setting the tone, setting the standard for yourself. And then a really beautiful practice that I know I've used in my confrontations, in my experiences as a coach and as a client in all kinds of scenarios, as a girlfriend, as a friend, right? All of these kind of scenarios don't just stay within coach-client relationships. They can really be applied to a lot of your other relationships in your life. So, a beautiful ritual is to just really get clear. And obviously we're journal freaks, so we love to get things out on pieces of paper. We love to see it. The less emotional and mental real estate you can take up, the better, because it's all on paper and it doesn't just keep clogging your energy flow. So for an expected confrontation, let's say you're planning on having a conversation with the person that you're wanting to confront. You want to write down how you desire your conversation to go. So a little bit of manifestation 101, you have to visualize your desires. happening, coming true, coming to fruition, being realized. So I would love for you guys to just think about, you can write these down to then come back to, if you want to re-listen to this replay, you can, but write down exactly how you desire the conversation to go and visualize the outcome with feelings, not just like, how does this look? How is this going to look? It's much more about, how am I going to feel and how is she going to feel? He or she, right? Or anything in between. LGBTQ totally accepted here. But it's much more about, what is this other person going to feel when I embark upon this journey of letting her in on my thoughts. And once you write this all down and you start to visualize how it's going to go, you're also going to soften the nerves of what if. Because if you can visualize how it's going to go and how it's going to feel, you're going to minimize the what if feelings, the nervousness, the feelings of like, oh my God, all these other things could happen. But I'm going to just focus my intention and my energy on these things and these feelings. And it's going to feel peaceful. It's going to feel like release. It's going to feel like a huge relief, not just for me, but for her, right? We're all intuitive. We can feel when something's up. No one is stupid, right? So just give the benefit of the doubt that the other person probably is already picking up on what you're going to put down. You know what I'm saying?
It's so true. It's so true. Every time. It's always like they knew it was coming, and it's like, oh, okay, so I didn't have to be as like wound up as I was, because we all knew that this had to happen, and we were just the first ones to say something, right? So yes, bringing yourself to this beautiful, calm space, and remembering and giving yourself permission to be nervous. It's okay to be nervous. We're all human. We all want to be liked, and we all want to belong, and we all want to be like this perfect, like everything's totally cool all the time, and like no one ever gets their feathers ruffled, and it's going to be great forever. Allow yourself to be nervous. It's going to be awkward. I mean, like I said, I almost shit my pants talking to Aislinn a few times that I did. Every time I talk to a client, I'm like palms sweaty. I'm just like gross, because I'm just like, ugh, I hate this so much. But there's so much beautiful growth and healing that can be done throughout. So in this moment, it's really important for you to embrace your vulnerability, to be radically honest, not only with yourself, right? We did that in stage 2, but also with this person. Now, I'm never going to necessarily be like hurtful or rude or be like, here's a list of all the things you did wrong. Ta-da! And like give them this whole list. And that's not productive for anybody. But more so just, here's how I feel. Here's what's coming up for me. And not like, here's the things you did, and here's you, right? You can use this in any area of communication. Take responsibility for here's how I'm feeling. Here's what's going on in my head and my heart, and here's what I can't shake. And I didn't know what it meant at the time. The first time I talked to Aislinn, I was like, I'm feeling these things, and I feel really uncomfortable, and I feel sad, and I feel off, and I don't know why. I don't have a reason for you. Nothing has happened, but I just feel off. So, going into this conversation, I always start with like, here's how I'm feeling. Here's what's going on. And then share your intention for this conversation. I just want to open this up. I want to have a conversation about it. Can you coach me through this? Or do you have insight, or are you feeling off too? Have you ever gone through this? And just start to share, like, here's what I desire. Here's what I want. Here's what I wish. Here's what is coming up for me. And I don't know why, but this is what I want moving forward. If you've come to that decision where you want to be done and you're not wanting to have conversations about it, and it's truly from a space of energetically, it just feels off, not from a space of fear or lack or scarcity or anything from there, but here's how I'm feeling. Have that open, honest conversation. I've had people tell me before that they're really unhappy with their coach, and they come and tell me, and they're like, I'm just so unhappy with my coach. I wish I could work with you. And I'm like, well, have you told your coach like what's coming up for you? And they're like, well, no, they're not going to change. Okay, you don't know that though. Like, I love you, but you don't actually know that until you give them the opportunity. If my clients feel off and they're not liking, or something's off with the way that our interactions are, yes, intuitively can tell something's off, but I don't know what that is unless they tell me. So that's what we mean by having this radical conversation, this radically honest conversation of saying, like, I'm feeling like I'm not happy right now. Like, I'm feeling like something is just like, I don't know if maybe I'm not getting what I want, or whatever it might be, but create clarity around what's coming up for you. And kind of, you're bringing it to the table of like, ta-da, like, can we have a conversation around this? And if your mind is already made up and you're going into it, it will look different, because you'll go into it, here's how I feel, here's what I'm wanting, here's my intention here's how I'd love for this to look, and kind of opening it up to their end after you've already said what it is that you want. But if it's that, I just need to navigate how I'm feeling right now in a safe space and have you reflect back to me and work through this, then here's how I'm feeling. Here's what's coming up for me. And where do we go from here? Like, what are you feeling? Anything? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And also like setting the tone for the whole conversation from a place of me, here's how I'm feeling, but also a beautiful thing that you can write down in the journal ahead of time when we did that exercise beforehand is to say, my intention is that you and I both feel this way. My intention is that you have a thriving business and I have a thriving business. And right now I'm feeling like there's some kind of, stuck energy within our relationship that is preventing that abundance flow or whatever. From your perspective, it's really healthy to state the intention for both parties so that represents that you have the other person's best intentions in mind as well, not just in a selfish way, even though in the coaching world, we know it's okay to be selfish from the place of self-respect, but definitely have the best intention for both parties involved too. So you really want to think about what energies do you want to infuse in the situation and in that conversation before you get there. So that in the moment, you're not like, wait, what was I thinking? What was I doing? But that you actually embody it in your body, in your being before you get there. So think about the energies of compassion and grace and understanding. Like actually all of these energies are associated with your heart chakra. And usually you'll feel a tightness in your chest or in your throat when you're feeling this intuitive, like something's off feeling. So the kind of disempowered or shadow elements of the heart are walls, right? So we don't want to enable a wall in a conversation that is meant to break down the heart wall. So the big, gift that you can give both yourself and the person involved is that you kind of take down the heart wall and you breathe and you really take time to infuse and embody the energies of compassion, understanding, love, and ease in that interaction so that your hearts are actually like, even though you're not physically together, you're going to be electromagnetically communicating from the heart chakra. And that's a beautiful part of this business is that it is so heart-centered. And for you to set the tone and for that to be the center of the conversation is going to take you really far. So it's really important to recognize that, it's not fair, just like you were saying, or what we were saying earlier, it's intended for both parties to have the best interest and to have the best success. So it's not fair for you to stay committed in that relationship just for like the sake of making that person happy or sticking it out or sticking around, or sacrificing your values to make someone else comfortable. We talk about this a lot in our programs, how if you don't know what your values are, it's really important to uphold them, right? So you have to be really aware of where you're sacrificing your own values like freedom in order to make your coach or your client happy, because that's going to throw all the other stuff out of whack and the heart energy is going to be just like kind of closed off. So you want to make sure that you're in alignment with your values and you're not just sticking it out to stick it out or to please someone else when you're unhappy.
Absolutely. And you have to know that it's not fair for us to not work with people who are all in, right? So for example, when I knew that I was feeling really off and I was like, oh, I'm just going to stick it out because like, that's just what you do. And like, I'm in an agreement. We're going to talk about that later, but I need to just stick it out. I just have to. I knew that energetically I was taking up real estate in Aislyn's life in every single way that was blocking her from receiving that next client who's going to be that like all in, like soul aligned AF, so dreamy of a client that she was so connected with because my connection with her was starting to feel off, where I was like, something is weird, something is off, something is out of vibration. Like we're just on like in two different places right now. And it was just a weird thing where I had to realize like, oh my gosh, like this is actually me holding her back as well as holding myself back because we're both being drained with these energy leaks. So knowing that, again, if it's for the highest good for you, it's for the highest good of all, and trusting that and knowing that. But the kind of final piece before we go into stage 4 of this really is all about, okay, you've had that conversation. You've had the conversation. So the first one we were like, okay, intention moving forward, we're going to work on this. We're going to figure it out. We're going to ride it out for a little bit. We're going to be on this wave together. We're both aware of it. We've had beautiful, open, honest communication about it. But Aislinn said, if it comes up again, I want you to text me and I want you to get on the phone with me in that moment and tell me what's going on. Don't sit on it. Don't wait on it. Don't suffer through it, like get on the phone with me. So we wrote it out for another week or so. And I had the conversation again. We went into it again of like, oh, that thing is still here and I don't know what to do. But I just am feeling like I'm ready to be done. And I love you so much and I want the best for you. And I feel like I'm holding you back because I know there's more for you as well. And again, like she said in the beginning, it was making it about here's how I feel, but here's what I also want for you. And I desire for you to have X, Y, Z. And I know that I can't give that to you. I know that I can't show up in that way. So there's someone else for you out there. And then the next piece, the uncomfortable piece that I think we're all afraid of is like, okay, well now we have to set boundaries and expectations for what this looks like now. Like it feels kind of awkward of like, okay, well now what? Right? Now what do I do? So really in this conversation, it's important to have these like clear expectations and boundaries set in place so that you're not kind of like stumbling through of like, how do we treat each other? What is this like? Because again, you're like breaking up. So it's not the same like plugged into the energy outlet of like, okay, I can just message this person whenever the heck I want and she's going to coach me through everything because she's not your coach anymore. Right? So it's like, well, now how do we navigate this? Can I call her? Can I message her? Are we still going to talk? Like, do I post on her social media stuff? Like, do we need space? Like, I don't know. And it's so awkward and it's so weird, but asking yourself like authentically with this human, what is it that you want after this? How do you want to navigate this afterlife of sorts? Do you want to be friends? Do you want to not be? Like, what does this look like? And you might need space to figure that out, but allowing the space and communicating that so that you both are clear of like, here's what this looks like moving forward.
Definitely. And like within that actual conversation that we did have when Olivia was like, you know what, I feel complete. That was, it wasn't a surprise to me. And I also, for the coaches who are going to be holding space for clients who are saying these things to them, you want to make sure that you are genuinely happy for them. Like this is something that you have to be really in integrity with and authentically feel. You can't just say this. You have to really feel happy for this person and you have to express that. You have to lead them through a process to move away from you and to say, I'm so excited for you, genuinely from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful that we've had this time together and I honor that we both feel complete in this relationship right now. It means nothing bad about you. It means nothing bad about me. It doesn't mean that we have to have a chip on our shoulder or we have to resent each other or we have to be awkward in our interactions moving forward. Like this gets to be a really beautiful launching moment for you where you go and thrive in another relationship, where you go and align with a vibrational person that matches who you are now and not who you were like 9 months ago, right? So as the coach, it's very important that you infuse enthusiasm, excitement, and joy in the end, because that makes that person, like it's not like it'll make it easier for her, but it will help in the transition out of the relationship so that she's not like, does she really think that? Did she really blah, blah, blah? Like you have to be genuinely embodying joy and excitement for that woman because it's not about you. It's about her and where she's headed. And that's one of the most empowering things that you can do is to be genuinely happy for the person who is on their way to another destination. And that's okay.
Yeah, I felt so supported in that conversation. Like I said, I almost shit my pants many times. And keep these questions coming. I love these so much. We are almost to questions, I promise. But I felt so supported in it. And I literally was like, oh, like when I got the phone, I was like, oh my God, that was like so much easier than I thought it would be, because she did see me and she was like, I truly, truly, truly want the best for you. And I am so genuinely excited. And I felt it as the client. So know that if you are going through things, maybe if you feel something off with one of your clients and it's not manifesting it where you're like focusing so heavy on it that you like are waiting for it to happen and you're like, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. I know it's coming. Like, well, then you need to say something like, hey, something feels up here. Something feels off. I want to open up the floor. Let's level set. What's going on? I love you. No judgment here, but what's going on with you? Because I can feel it. But it's also knowing that, I don't know where I was going with that. Gotta hate when I do that.
It's knowing that both people are genuinely happy for change and shifting, and it's okay. It's like, it's not the end of the world.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. And I was going to say because they can feel it. So if you have any like weird feelings coming up for you and you're feeling resentment towards a client or towards your coach or whatever it might be, and you're just like waiting around for it, be the leader, step up, right? Take your power back and know you need to open up that conversation and not just sitting around waiting for it to happen. Like, I knew this was coming. Like, okay, have the conversation. Now, we've all been there, right? Where we're like, oh shit, I knew this was coming. Like, I should have said something, and we learned from it. It's not a bad thing, but it's like, I felt so supported by Aislinn, and she had done, I'm assuming, whatever work she needed to do to be ready for it. And just as I have to do with my clients, where I'm like, I have to get ready for that. And I have to do the work to know my abundance isn't in my clients. Like, I am my source of abundance as much as I love them and their payments help, right? And having them in my life means so freaking much to me, but it doesn't mean I'm done making money if I lose a client. It's not like, oh, well, there goes a $2,000 payment every month. Like, now I'm screwed. It's like, no, like that they're not the source of my abundance. I love the shit out of you, but I'll be okay financially. And there's more abundance. You're opening up, allowing the universe to give it to you in other ways that feel super aligned energetically for you. And it's actually, they're going to go do what they need to do. And they're going to spend their energy and their money in a way that feels aligned for them. And we all rise together. And it's like this beautiful thing where, okay, now we're all ready to go to that next level together. So stage 4. Stage 4. Woo, woo,
okay.
woo.
So stage 4 is called the come down and the void. What happens after?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. This is a really beautiful phase. I love this phase because it's kind of like the dark side of the moon. It's kind of like menstruation. It's kind of like the phase of the crone, right? Where we go into this withdrawal phase. We go within. We are very inquisitive of the self. And really, if you're thinking about journaling on this more, questions like, what does it mean if a client leaves? What does it mean if, something bad happens in my coaching career? What does it mean? Like, what kind of deeper things come up around these questions that make you feel inferior, unworthy, unsupported, unloved? What shitty shit comes up when you're facing these questions about what does it mean to your subconscious mind when you have these things shifting in your life? And check in and like read them out loud and recognize that like when you actually put voice to these fears, they sound ridiculous, right? They do. Like, this client left me and that means I'm a horrible coach or I'm a horrible person. And you realize how intuitively that feels so off, right? Like, it usually just doesn't feel right when you say it out loud. So when you're journaling through all of these things and we're about to talk about the stage 4 come down, these are really beautiful things to observe about yourself, witness about yourself. When you infuse consciousness and awareness in an area that was previously dark or, pushed down, you illuminate it. You bring life to it. You bring like prana and chi. If you're in yoga or Chinese medicine, it's a lot about bringing the unconscious to the conscious so that it can be healed. So don't discredit all of that in this phase. It's a really beautiful time to go within, do the healing, let stuff surface and cry and really process. So with that being said, what the words that came up for me around this stage was healing, mourning, and spaciousness. And how those things kind of, especially mourning, that might feel like sad and it might feel dark and depressive, but it's actually a really beautiful opportunity to release and create space. And healing is messy. Healing doesn't just, it's not just rainbows and kumbaya all the time, right? It's like the processing is nitty gritty. And it's okay. And it's not something that I think, the coaching world, we're like, oh yeah, it's abundance is easy and abundance. But in order to get there, you have to be willing to face the really weird, awkward, nitty gritty, dirty parts of the
so true. So true. Absolutely. Yeah. And knowing that it's going to be a roller coaster after you let go. So at first you might feel like this freedom or this liberation of like, okay, I feel like light. Okay. I feel good. And then you go into like, oh, normally this is when we would have our call. I'm really, really sad. Or like, oh, they just hired that next coach. And like, oh my God, like now they're going to compare my coaching to their coaching. And like, that means I failed, or that means that I sucked, and you go through this whole roller coaster of like the letting go process and the healing and the mourning and the spaciousness and the gratitude and the celebration and the liberation and also just the sadness and the all of these things. It's part of it. So allow space to ride this roller coaster, knowing that it's going to take a minute to find the normal, whatever that means, the normal, like that like set point again for a little bit. It's going to take you time. Now, for me, every time I've lost a client, more come in, like on the other side. I just talked to one of my coaches today, and she was saying that she's like, literally, I let a client go and I like blessed and released. And she's like, you literally came in like the next day and we weren't even talking. And I was like, this is crazy. Like clients can come from anywhere. I found Aislinn through a friend who then I watched her in a summit that I hosted. And then I was like, I didn't even talk to her ever in my life. And then I like signed up for a consultation on her website and like hired her the next day. So it's like clients come from anywhere. They come there. There's an abundance of them. And it's being in this season of knowing it's okay. I'm okay. Even though I'm sad and even though I'm hurt and even though this stung a little bit because I'm human and I did take it personally for a minute and I've really made that about me and about how bad of a coach I am. But now that I realize I've journaled through, I know that that's kind of silly that, oh my gosh, look at all these clients that I have that are getting results, or what is it that I learned here? What was the lesson? Whatever it might be. And it's riding this roller coaster with ease, knowing that it's going to be okay and that every single coach goes through it at some point. It's just part of the process. Like I said, it's the initiation of sorts. And just know like, okay, what comes next now, right? How are you setting yourself up for success? How are you taking any lessons you learned? If maybe the conversation went terribly and it was an awful conversation and you were like, damn, I wish I was more prepared, or damn, I wish I would have said that, or shoot, I should have done this differently. It's turning that regret into opportunity, knowing that, okay, I don't need to regret this and I don't need to wish that I would have said all these different things. I can actually look at this as opportunity for conversations in the future. I can journal through it and I can be like, here's what I'm going to do differently next time, and really setting yourself up for success next, with even getting clear in the manifestation process again of, okay, what type of clients are you ready for? Who do you want to work with? How do you want this next conversation and relationship to go? How easy can it be to get that next perfect client for you in this next season? And really starting to get clear about what you're calling in and what you're creating and being the match for it. Like Aislinn talked about with the energy, what are you doing to take care of you to be the woman who can attract the type of client that you're wanting at this next level, right? Being that client that you want. If I know that I want clients like X, I need to be like X in my coaching relationships when I have coaches. If I want clients to pay in full, where am I paying in full? If I want clients to say yes without even second guessing, where am I saying yes without even second guessing? If I want clients to show up and do their homework and be like done with their shit ASAP, I better be doing my homework and being done with my shit ASAP. Like, what are the types of things, the types of clients you're calling in, and how are you showing up as that person yourself first so that you're the energetic match to call them in?
Definitely. All about that integrity and integrating. Similar words, you know what I mean? It's definitely about taking that responsibility and also recognizing that, you're embodied for a reason. Mm-hmm. So when you're going through all of these, these processes and healing opportunities, you have to recognize that you have to ground. And I don't mean sitting on a couch for, a full day and like watching Netflix. It's about mindful grounding, doing some releasing rituals, cord cutting rituals, go to a yoga class or go dance in a dance class or go dance in front of your own mirror. These things that seem fairly elementary, but when I do it after I've forgotten to do it, I'm like, oh, right. This is why I do this stuff. This is so it helps me to move through a process and recognize that it doesn't have to be alone, right? It's all about, holler, ask for help. Ask for help. It's okay. You will be okay. Holler.
Holler.
Like definitely, I've got my massage therapist on speed dial. I know I have my energy healers. I know I have, the yoga teachers that really just every time they have the playlist that speaks to my soul and the words that are just like so ingrained with my, my peace. And that's really important so that you have a list of like to do things, embody yourself so that you're not consistently in like I should have done this or what is going to happen. Stop, attaching yourself to the future or to the past, because this is a big chance for you to be present with yourself. So just like Olivia said, this is an opportunity for you to alchemize any regrets into opportunities and to really recognize that you will be okay. Like worst case scenario, you're always going to be okay. It might take you a while. It might take you some tears, but you're going to be okay. And that's really actually like the truth of this whole process, right? And it's very important that you keep anchoring into your why, and you keep anchoring into your yes. And, you keep anchoring back into your vision that, while you're being present, you can also take time and devote energy to where you're headed. And bringing yourself back to like the big picture helps for you to navigate those moments that feel like, when you're going through a hard time or a hard phase, it feels like time is just like taking forever, but when you can take yourself out of that really long one singular moment and you can anchor back into your big vision of what's actually important here, and that this is going to be a catapult into bigger success, more abundance, more freedom, you're going to kind of like, I want to say like you're going to lube the path a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like kind of a little racy there. It just came in. It's like you're going to just like make it easier for you to glide through that particular phase in this whole process.
Yes. It really is all about remembering and reminding yourself as well that, again, your clients are not the key to your abundance, right? You might be sold out on something and you're like, okay, perfect, I'm set. And now I get to put my feet up and I get to chill. Like, this is why it's so important to, yes, even when I'm sold out in my coaching practice, I'm still showing up. I'm still adding value to my audience. I'm still expanding my network. I'm still connecting with people. I'm still serving people that aren't my clients, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, you're setting yourself up to all of a sudden be like, oh my God, now what? Like everyone's like, if they all start at the same time, they're all done at the same time. And what if they don't sign back on? Like, you better be doing things to continue to grow yourself and grow your business and be ready for what comes next while still holding space for and serving the client. So it's a whole nother webinar for a whole nother time of like how I balance serving my clients and growing my audience at the same time. But yes. It's true that you can't just be like, okay, well, I'm done now. Cool. Everything's good. Now I just get to chill and like lean back and whatever. And it's all going to be fine, because you are going to lose people along the way as you continue to evolve and as they continue to evolve. And that's kind of the point. Is for everyone to evolve and for everyone to rise and for everyone to grow and for everyone to shift and everyone to change and everyone to win and for them to be ready to like jump out of the nest and fly. And you're like, get it, girl, you're flying. I'm so freaking grateful that I was a part of your journey for the time that I was. And I'm so genuinely excited to see what comes next for you, and know that it doesn't mean anything about me. It's just that you're ready to go on to what's next for you. And so knowing and telling yourself, I am the source of my abundance. I am an infinite creator with limitless potential. I literally can have and create and do anything that I damn well please. What do I want? What comes next? Who do I want to work with? Who is this next level version of me? What does she wear? What does she smell like? What does she taste like? How does she show up in life? Who do I need to embody and who do I need to become to be ready for what comes next? And supporting the people that are gone. Like Aislinn still supports me. We're hosting this together. If anyone hasn't noticed, hello. Hi. I still comment on my client stuff. They still send me, their logo when it's finally done and all of these beautiful things. And I can genuinely celebrate them knowing that I got to co-create with them for a time. And I'm so grateful for that. And I get to celebrate them even now. And here's the thing too, like some of the lessons that they may have learned with you, you don't know when they're going to come to fruition. Like you might have a client where you're like, oh, I thought we were going to get to this one point, but we didn't get there and they moved on. Like if you're only working with them for say like 3 months, like, okay, damn, like I didn't get to see that through. They were ready to move on. And now later they're like, their branding is done. They signed their first 10 clients. They're so freaking excited. And you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm not the reason that happened. That's them. But I got to co-create with them in the 3 months that we worked together. And it's so cool to see it all coming to fruition now.
Yes, that is like the most amazing feeling, you guys. If you haven't felt that yet, just wait. Because you'll realize that like success is success is success, regardless if you were working with them in the moment that they experienced that or if they experience that later. if you detach from your codependency, if you detach your ego from making it about you, you will have joy for that person's success, regardless if it was in front of you, with you, or not in front of you or with you. Whether it happens or it doesn't happen, like when it does, it's going to feel like the most magical feeling in the world. And that's really one of the most fulfilling things that I think my coaching career has exposed to me, or that I've experienced within it, is that abundance that is so fruitful and plentiful. And it doesn't just mean it's about one person winning. It's much more like if you guys haven't noticed, this whole celebration of each other is really what matters. And it doesn't mean that if you're paying me money, it only matters. It's not about that. It's much more about all of us supporting each other in whatever phase we're in, and letting that success be as important as it would if they were working with us as a coach or as a client. So just anchor back into that. Remember that. Rewatch this if you need to rewatch this. If you're at any point and you're like, oh, I think that's what I need to hear again. Just keep processing that through your head. Write that down somewhere. A woman celebrating another woman's success, regardless of what it means about her, is what true abundance feels like. And we're all going to get there at some point or another. If you're not there yet, don't shame yourself for it. But when you do feel that feeling, you'll be like, oh my God, right. This is epic. This is it. This is what it's all about. Yeah. Cheering everybody on, no matter what it means for you.
Ooh, I love that. It's so true. And that's what true sisterhood is all about. Like, that's the rise of the divine feminine, right? Like, if we want to, we need to support each other, no matter what that means for us, and truly, genuinely support each other. And so the kind of final piece I feel like we really wanted to drive home here is to don't get sucked into comparisonitis when this person goes and works with someone else and they move on to who's next for them, or they end their 3 months like this with you and then they move on to another coach and you're like, well, damn, what does that mean about me? It doesn't mean jack shit about you. It doesn't mean anything about you. Stop making it about you. Be happy for them. Get into that vibration of being so genuinely happy and excited and celebratory of other women and other humans. And guess what? That will come right back to you. You'll draw more of that in, of true celebration. It's just so crazy when you allow yourself the freedom to that. Like, something that Aislinn taught me is that we align with people based on not the depth of our knowledge and how good we are as a coach. Like, well, I'll never be like Aislinn. Why would someone work with me? It's not about that. Aislinn and I are two different humans. We teach a lot of the same things, yes, but in very different ways. We have different lives, different experiences, different depths of knowledge, different relationships, different things in our lives, different energies, sometimes different ways of sharing information, of speaking, as you can see from tonight even. We're two different humans. We both can succeed, and it's inevitable that we're going to get everything that we ever want in this lifetime, and I have no doubt about that. And if someone chooses to work with her over me, it has nothing to do with me, and I am genuinely happy for her. I don't compare myself to her. And when I slip into that lower vibration of comparing myself to anyone in the coaching sphere, I have to figure out, what is this mirroring to me? What have I not healed? What have I not worked through? What am I not owning? Because that true confidence is stepping into that coaching relationship knowing this person's going to get exactly what they need, even if I don't say a freaking word. They're going to walk away with every single shift that they need, the exact transformation that they came to me for. And it's not up to me to decide what they need right now. It's up for them to decide, and me to bring that energy, knowing that our souls are working on like a deep process, even when nothing is being said and it's just an energy exchange, and having that confidence in that relationship. And, something that I heard recently was that if you fear the unknown, if you're afraid of the unknown of what this afterlife looks like with, afterlife and life in general, whatever that might be for you, we could go broad, but also the afterlife of this client-coach relationship, if you're fearing the unknown, you're not anchored into the divine. You don't have faith in whoever you believe you're co-creating with at a deeper energetic level, God, source, spirit, angels, universe, you name your jam. But if you lean into faith and trust of knowing that you're safe here and you're held divinely on like a soul level, and everything's happening for you, and you truly embody that belief with every cell of your being, you have nothing to fear. Everything, even when it feels like shit is hitting the fan for you, it's happening for a greater purpose. And I promise you, it will make sense one day. Maybe not now when you want it to, but it will, and you can lean into
that. Amen.
It's a meme or whatever. She does that.
I love
Let's do Q&A.
Let's do Q&A, you guys. So we have one question that was already pre-asked, and then we will, Melissa says, fudge, yes. Sierra says, I need more sisters like that.
Love that.
Yay, you guys. I'm so happy that you have enjoyed this. Olivia and I were like, we have so much to talk about. We hope we can fit it in here. But the Q&A is going to give you guys a chance to be coached, a chance for you guys to ask questions that maybe have been bubbling up. Please keep them relevant to this conversation for the most part. If something really epic has come up and it's connected, feel free and share that too. So feel free to start entering your comments into the chat and we can start to address them. But our first comment or question that came up was around contracts. So the question was, what do you do when a contract exists and you want to, you feel complete? Like, what do you do? So Olivia and I were discussing this, and likely, we're actually on the very same page, is that really the most empowering thing that you can do when you have a contract with someone is to be very communicative and open. So we're going back to like all the stages. We've really addressed this already because it applies to a contract as well. Now, we're not financial advisors. We're not lawyers. We can't give you any legal advice, but we can invite you to communicate your truth. And nothing bad can come from that. If someone doesn't respect that, and they feel that the contract is more important than the integrity of how you feel in the relationship, then that's something where you have to navigate. And as it comes, you get to intuitively decide what's best for you in that moment. But communication is the priority in any contract, non-contract. Like Olivia and I don't have many contracts because if a client wants to go, we're going to let them go. We don't ever want a client to feel jailed. We don't ever want her to feel like she is just trapped or anything like that. So for me, I've never had contracts in my relationships. Usually we start with 4 or 5 months and then we keep going if it's working out, but it's always like a personal choice for that person to stay or not. So usually a contract, I'll respect a contract for a coach or a program or a mastermind. You have to be careful to not ask for a refund if you've gotten to a place where, you've already absorbed the information or the knowledge or the vibes, the energy. You have to respect exactly where you're at in that contract, but discuss, communicate, be open, be vulnerable, share your intention for both this person and yourself. And that's kind of our answer. Olivia, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. And that's so true. I had contracts for a while, but then I realized for me personally, like I take a verbal agreement very seriously. So if my client agrees to work with me for X amount of time, that's why I hold them to it of, can I coach you through this? Like very recently I had a client that came to me in total scarcity and freak out mode. And I asked if I could coach her through it and she said no. And I said, okay, then I bless and release you. She was in a quote unquote contract. We were in an agreement period. She had not fulfilled her coaching period with me. But I don't believe in the energy of like holding on and squeezing and like clenching onto this person's money. If she feels ready to go, I'm going to honor that, knowing and trusting. And it's not easy, but I trust that there are more soul-aligned clients on the other side, and my needs are always met, and I don't have to fear a lack of money, that the universe will bring it to me in other ways. And maybe it's another client or maybe it's not, but I'm safe and I'm supported. So I never want anyone to feel glued into me forever and ever, because it just doesn't, it's a weird energy. I don't, take people to court or anything crazy like that. Like I just don't operate with that kind of energy in my life, and I don't hold space for it. I don't operate like that as a client. And if I had something happen in that case, like if a client broke an agreement like they have before, I honor it, and I don't fight them on it, because I just don't, it doesn't feel good. And I don't have many clients that happens to, because again, I don't hold space for that. So someone did ask in the chat, did I have these feelings of something off before or after renewing 6 months with Aislinn? So I worked with Aislinn for 8 months. We were a couple months into our 6th month, our next agreement. That was my 3rd time I had signed on with her. I was like, forever. And at the time when I did sign on, I did not have those feelings. Things felt so good, or else I wouldn't have signed on. I would have had the conversation then. It started to happen about, I would say like a month and a half in or so of our 6th month, after we had already worked together. And then we stuck it out for those couple of weeks, and then we had that completion conversation after that. So don't agree to things that don't feel good.
Yeah. Kiki asks, when you're talking about letting a client go, do you do this at the end of a contract or when they bring it up, or is it based on what feels best? Yeah, usually, Kiki, you're going to be picking up on that intuitive, something needs to shift feeling. And sometimes this is definitely, I've had clients who, at the end of our initial phase of working together in the beginning, it was 3 months, then I moved it to 4 months, and now I'm in 2019 at 5 months. And when you're done and the payments have stopped, it's always an opportunity for you to say, how are you feeling? Let's review, let's check in. What do you want more of? What could you take less of? Let's work this, for one another, like let's work together. But it's usually, if you're in a long-term relationship with a client or a coach, bring it up as soon as you can, as long as you've done that internal work and you've checked in with yourself and you've created some stillness and some pause. But usually it's based on when it feels best, when it's arising. And with previous clients in the past, it's been on the last session that, I say, I feel complete in this. I'm so excited. I release you, that kind of, feeling versus, I would never invite a client to continue to work with me that I felt off with. Yeah. That would just be completely out of integrity. So I wouldn't be like, so I feel really great about how this is working, even though inside I'm like, this doesn't feel so good. Do you want to keep working with me? Like, that's not cool to do. Try not to do that, especially if you're like, that's a mirror for the scarcity that you're experiencing. Yeah. But for me, if a client hasn't seen results yet, I'll say like, I know you're on the edge of something amazing. Let's keep going because I know it's right around the corner. We're laying the foundation. There's something beautiful here. Don't give up yet. Like, you have to be very intuitively aware of where the person is. Is it in your and their best interest to keep going, or is it not? And just being very aware of that particular relationship.
Yeah, so true. Sometimes we have to let go of something that seems very certain, if it's feeling energetically off, in order to be ready and open to receive what's next and what the universe is trying to bring us. For example, if I always do a coaching consultation before I start working with someone, and I've turned people down where that's like, an $8,000 contract that I just turned away. But if the consultation, if our initial hour together feels off, it's not serving me or them to just take them on because like, ooh, someone's willing to say yes. It's me saying, I have loved this conversation. I've so enjoyed our time together, but I don't feel like I'm the right fit for you in this season. I do have a couple of recommendations. I would encourage you to talk to so-and-so or so-and-so, and they're more in that zone of genius that you're looking for. And then when you're ready for X, I would love to have another conversation and possibly invite you in and we can do work together then. So, yeah, it's a difficult conversation to have of letting people go even when they're ready to pay you. And they're like, but here's my money. And you're like, I love you so much, but like, I let you go. But it's just knowing that you have to do what truly feels in alignment for you. I know too, Catherine said, it freaks me out to part ways with friendships that I know have lived their course, but then it feels like I have no friends. Sierra says, I feel that same way about friendships that have been around for a while, but have grown into different stages. Yeah, I mean, Aislinn can attest to this. I've had a lot of these this year. She has been there for all of them. And it's just knowing that you have to be okay on your own. And maybe that's the exact lesson the universe might be trying to teach you. I have no idea. I don't know you that well to be able to know that. But intuitively, what comes up for me here is that, maybe it's an invitation to be alone for a little bit and to get super, super clear about what it is that you want. What type of relationships do you want? What do your friends that you long to have? What vibration are they at? What do they do for fun? What are they reading? What are their personality traits? What are they like? And knowing you get to curate friends the same way you curate clients, the same way you curate a perfect partner, perfect subjective. I mean, like soul aligned, right? Like no relationship's perfect, but you get to curate exactly what that is. So, what I'm supposed to say as a projector is, do you want to know what I think? But I'm assuming. So anyway, I'm learning so much about human design, you guys. It's blowing my mind. But that being said, I know for me, there have been times where I've let go of friends, and it's the scariest thing, almost scarier than clients, especially when they're lifelong friends. But I've had to learn to be so obsessed on my own of like enjoying my own alone time and getting super, super clear about the types of relationships that I wanted. And then I called them in energetically, and I was able to make more friends on the other side.
Perfect answer. Perfect. Sierra says, if I'm stuck in the middle of a relationship break with an old friend, now client, and the other person is still an important person to me, and they don't feel the offness, what do I do? This is a good question. So if I'm reading this right, you're feeling the offness, but the other person isn't, and then there's a disconnect in you understanding each other, probably. So this just seems like an opportunity, Sierra, for you to say, hey, like, here's what I'm feeling. And if you give her the opportunity to say, hey, maybe she is feeling it. Have you had that conversation with her? It's really important that you do communicate what feels off for you, because that's going to give her an opportunity to step forward and maybe share some things that you might not expect for her to share. But it's not good to just stick out offness, because that means something does have to change. So the sooner you can confront the change that needs to happen, the better. But what that's going to require is a conversation first and foremost. So I'm sorry, there's not an easy answer to that. It's going to be specific to your relationship with her, but that's what I would say.
Yeah, I would say, like, do we know for sure that she doesn't feel an offness? Because for me, like, I've always been like, oh, they don't know this is coming. And then they actually do. That they do know that was coming. Like when I had the first conversation with Aislinn, I thought it was out of nowhere. And she's like, no, I felt it. When I've had conversations with clients and I bring it up and I'm like, let's level set. They're like, oh, I knew that this was coming. So she might feel it. And I would just be mindful of for me personally, I've had to be very mindful of, if I have old friends that become clients, like there's very clear cut boundaries, that this isn't like you paying me and now we're friends and it's like swampy feminine vibes of like, I don't have boundaries and like, I don't know like my standard. I'm not holding space at this, like coach client relationship. So making sure that you have that in place too, of like, exactly what does this look like now that it was like a friend, but now she's a client, and is it seeping back into like friend vibes and you don't know how to confront her because you're not in a coach client thing. I've had that happen before too.
Yeah, a big lesson that Olivia and I navigated with Olivia's particular friendship situations that she had to lay some boundaries down was that initially people might feel offended by your requirements and by your boundaries, but afterwards they'll respect you more. They'll respect you more for it, or they'll create more space and you'll know exactly where they stand and where they respect you and where that line actually is. So don't be afraid of people being offended, because offending someone usually comes before them respecting you, but that's okay. So just know that that's potentially a situation that can manifest in that.
Yeah.
But
beautifully said. Well, and it's just another invitation to look at your boundaries. And it always has been for me too. Like, you set the standard, especially as the coach, you set the standard. Aislinn also helped me navigate sometimes where I would get into like friend first, business second, versus as coach client, it needs to be business first, friend second. And that turned into people not paying me on time and people not honoring the time that they were scheduled and missing calls. And it was like very swampy for a while. And I had to it was just the universe inviting me in, where I was like, okay, why is this happening? What is this mirroring in me? And taking ownership of being like, okay, I need to set the boundaries here. I need to have the difficult conversations of saying, hey, you not paying me on time is not okay. And this is why you don't have what it is that you want in your life. And I love you too much to continue to let this be a pattern here. So this needs to shift. This needs to change. What's going on here? And let's coach through it. And having that difficult conversation too.
Yes. Definitely.
Aurelia, is that how you say it? I don't know if I said that right. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. It's a beautiful name. She says, do you have a set period of time for your programs?
I'm not quite sure what that means.
I think she was talking about, so like for coaching contracts, which you said. So now going into 2019, your coaching contracts are 5-month minimum, reevaluate at the end. Mine are 4-month minimum, evaluate at the end. We both do programs or masterminds where it's like an 8-week or a 12-week, or it's a 2-week intensive or something like that. So yes, there's always like here's when we're going to, for sure, no matter what, even if things feel really good, reevaluate what comes next. And for me personally, I do it when we enter our last month together on the contract, the agreement. I will have that conversation of saying, hey, we're getting into our last month together. Your last payment just came out. We have a couple more calls left. It's time to start thinking about what comes next, and then either inviting them to continue with me or just touching base with them of how are you feeling here. and knowing that it might be time to let them go, or we might continue, and I have to know what that feels like for them too.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that conversation today with a client. It was great.
I had it yesterday.
Like, yay! She's like, we're going to keep going. We're just starting. I'm like, yes.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That was like me with you. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay you, girl, but girl, we going to figure it out.
We going to figure it out. And then boom. Boom.
So
all right. HGRS, I'm not sure. I find that the clients who ask for special circumstances, i.e. lower pricing, are the ones that things go sour with. Yeah. Not a coach. My services are billed hourly, strategy sessions, digital campaigns, PR, etc. I have such a hard time flowing with non-contract situations, especially in these cases, because oftentimes much of the work is rendered. Do you find that letting go and making space to level up is worth the compensation loss? Absolutely. Yes. My initial yes is so yes. It's so clear. It's time, I never discount anything. And I know it's different in coaches versus like some strategy sessions, but not really. Like, not really. You hold yourself up to a certain standard. And if there's a client who asks for special circumstances and you give that to them, it's obviously case by case basis. But usually when they ask for a discount, sometimes they don't even need it. And they're just wanting one, to see, they're going to ask, right? People will never know that it's going to be a no until they ask. And then, oh, it's a yes, great, I just saved some money. But then this is exactly what we're talking about. When you sacrifice your values for making someone else comfortable, that is going to really like put a little dent in your manifestation game and in your abundance vibration. So in a non-contract situation, I would say stay as true as possible to your price points and don't let anybody talk you out of that. That's really going to be important in the long term to, for you to let go and make space to level up is absolutely worth the compensation loss, because you're going to get that back and more when you're working with clients who actually respect you and do your work and the value of your work.
Totally. And you have to think of what is it costing you for example, I have a client, had a client who hadn't paid, and I continued to work with her because I was like, oh, it's okay. She's going to pay me. She's going to pay me. It's okay. And so I kept working with her, and she was missing payment after payment after payment. And all of a sudden we were a month in where I have done a month's worth of work, i.e. a coaching call every week, answering messages all times of the day, like communicating with her, holding space for her energetically, being so invested in her. And we were coming up on her next payment, like her next month payment. Well, now we're, X amount of dollars behind, and now we have this much, and we're running on a time here to get payments up. And so I had to have a tough conversation. And so we decided to take a month off, and I gave her 4 weeks to figure out where she was going to get the money from and pay for the services already done. And it's coming up on the day that it's due, and nothing has been put towards it. And I love this human so much. And so I'm not saying this in ill will by any means, but I'm saying it as an example that I might never get that money, and I did the work. But what is it costing me to hold on to an energy leak of chasing this money and hoping it comes through, and waiting and just praying and wishing that I'll get this $1,500, knowing that might be costing me the very next client that's on the other side that's willing to pay me and is ready to go all in now, right? So it's so hard, especially when you've done the services. It's why it's so important to have really solid boundaries. And it was a very expensive lesson for me to learn. And this might be exactly what their soul needed to learn from me in this next season, right? I have no idea. But me chasing that and trying to force it and make it happen because they agreed to it is costing me more energetically, which money is energy, right? It's costing me more trying to force it versus like, I need to seal this up. I need to let it go. I've done my part. I've taught the lessons that need to be taught. I've had the difficult conversations. I've fought the good fight. I love this human so much. I'm willing to let them go. I love her enough to let her go. And I pray that one day she wakes up and she's like, holy shit, this is why I don't have what I want. Pays off the debt, right? I know I have a friend who's done that where she didn't pay for like a year. And she said that she's like, I didn't pay for this whole year. And she's like, I went back and PayPal'd that person a year later. They didn't even know it was coming. And I sent the money because I had a lesson where I was like, oh my God, this is why I don't have what I want, because I'm failing to follow through on my commitment. So I'm going to go back and pay my debts back, even though that person let me go a long time ago, and I want to make it right. So this might be a lesson for this client to learn. She needs to learn this on her own. and it might not be the lesson that I'm meant to teach her. You know, she might have to figure it out down the road. So it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. So yeah, Laura says always get paid first. Yes, this was an expensive lesson I learned.
I did that too. I have a client who back in the early beginnings, she owes me $5,000 still. And it's not something that I've expected her to pay me back. I'm not like holding on to that 5K. I've just, it's just something that I had to let go of. But yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to get it back, but I'm not going to like blame her for that because it was me and my boundaries that allowed that to happen in the first place. Okay, let's do maybe one or two more questions and then we're going to close up shop because it is already, it is 8:45 p.m. Central Time right now. So let's see. Melissa says, how can you raise your price to someone that you have had for over 6 months, but now really know your worth? Okay. So I think we probably have two different options for this. First one is to always respect that a client who's had a consistent, relationship with you and they're great people and the vibe is good. I always respect like an initial price point that someone has paid me until I invite them to level up, and they usually do. However, at 6 months, Melissa, and you're feeling like this is draining my energy to work with this person, no matter how awesome the person they are, then you can always invite them in terms of in their favor. Say, hey, I'm upgrading you. I'm inviting you to upgrade with me to this next price point. You're going to get entry to all my programs. You're going to get this, and this. You're going to have blah. It doesn't mean you have to give her more necessarily, but it's okay for you to say, okay, at 6 months, this is where we're going to upgrade. If she respects that, if she wants to do it, and if she's seen the results for that to happen, then invite her to join you in that upgrade process. But if not, she'll probably say no, thank you, goodbye. And that's exactly where you know that it was complete in the first place, right? Olivia, I'm sure you have a lot to say on this too, but.
Yeah, I've had clients do that to me before, and it's so sad and it always bums me out. But if you're not showing up excited, like you love the human, again, you love the person, but if you feel stagnant, she might be stagnant because certain price points can also, especially if she's been working with you for 6 months, can start to be really easy, effortless. Like, oh, I make this payment so easily, it doesn't even make me uncomfortable. So like, it's almost like when I used to have clients pay in full, I don't do that anymore really very often for one-on-one coaching because I want them to recommit every month and get a little uncomfortable with a payment coming out of their account because it's scary a little bit. And it's like, oh, I'm recommitting. This is why I pay this person. Okay. Versus when they pay it in full, I noticed towards the end of like that month, 3 month, 4, they stopped showing up because they were like paid for it so long ago that it was out of sight, out of mind. So you might notice that her being stagnant might very well be that she's not feeling challenged with the investment anymore, and you're not showing up the same because you're not super excited about it and you know you're worth more. So really, like Aislinn said, making it in her favor of, I love you so much. Here's what we're going to do moving forward. I would love to invite you into this next level with me. I think you're ready for it. I know you're ready for it. I'm pumped for you. I can't wait to see what transformation occurs at this next level, but leave it up to her. And that means possibly letting her go. And it hurts. It hurts a lot. She says, I love her and I'm showing up, but I feel like she isn't anymore. Yeah, she's not challenged.
Yeah. Alrighty, you guys. So we could obviously go and go and go and go with all of this amazing stuff and all these questions because we really appreciate your questions. And this conversation is really what brings some life to this topic. So at this point, we're going to wrap up. And I would love for anybody listening to just join me in a couple breaths and just close your eyes and we can kind of find this completion for this evening. And especially if you're watching the replay, feel free to drop questions. Send us questions, and maybe we can continue to address more of this in the future. But for now, we are so grateful for you. So if you could join me, why don't you go ahead and close your eyes, relax your shoulders, go ahead and lay down. If you're lying down, close your eyes and just take a deep breath in and a big breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And last one, inhale. Let it go. Just close your eyes and let your whole body relax. A lot of information that you've absorbed this evening. Just tune into your heart. Just let your whole being start to slow back down. Recognize your surroundings, your breath, and your heartbeat. and recognize that you've shared space with an amazing group of women today. And you can open up your eyes and just really take this with you tonight. It's easy to forget or to let go or to, to just kind of think about on to the next thing, but do your best to integrate this information and do some journaling around whatever came up for you tonight. Anything that feels lingering or anything like that, let us know if you have any other questions. But we are so appreciative that you took your evening and spent it with us. We are so grateful because we know that you guys are boss babes. You got shit to do, but we really value you.
We are so honored that you guys chose to spend time with us here. We know there's a million other places that you could be. If you do have further questions, like Aislinn said, please let us know. We know that this is a needed topic in the coaching industry. We'd love to continue having conversations like this. So the more feedback you give us, the more that opens up for what comes next after this. And make sure you do find us both on social media. We'd love to connect with you there. And if you do want more info on either of our coaching, definitely find us. It's aislinnwalton.com. oliviaceline.com. We kept it super simple for you. If you have any questions, let us know. We love you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We hope that this helps in every single way. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.